말해줘. 지금 뭐가 뭔지 몰라. 도대체 어떻게 그럴 수가 있나. 이 세상에는 나보다 더 잘난 남자가.
Hey, welcome back to Check the Vending Machines, a weekly pop culture podcast on the internet where two best friends get together, talk about pop culture stuff. I'm Jason, that's Zach. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. It's just cold as hell.
I know,
So I'm just
man.
trying to do everything I can to not go outside right now.
And I live in an old house, dude, so this fucking
Mhm.
insulation is garbage.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this apartment's insulation is not the greatest. I don't know. I also don't know if I just don't have like my heat set up high enough. What do you keep your house at to like stay like toasty?
I mean, the thing is, I don't use the heater.
Oh, well,
I had to use the heater last night and this morning because it's freezing where we're at. It's like super
yeah.
duper cold. But even then, like I set it to like 65 because we have heated blankets and stuff like that, like space heaters. And I woke
Gotcha.
up in the morning, walked over to the thermostat, and it was like 61. So it like didn't even do enough. It didn't even build it to what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
It was just that cold outside. The insulation is that terrible.
Yeah, I don't know. Mine might be a little bit better than that. I mean, probably not much because I think I have it set it to like 72, and I don't know. I'm sure if I walked over there, it'd probably be like 70 or some shit.
See,
But
just the nature of my family. We
mm,
don't put the stat that number never touches 70, dude.
yeah,
Just by nature, we don't fuck around with that. But also because like I live in a house, so like it's expensive
yeah,
to make a whole house to run
yeah,
a central air through an entire house, especially an old house. Yo, no, fucking expensive as shit, bro.
yeah. If I was living in a house, I probably wouldn't do it because yeah, it can definitely get pricey when you've
Yeah,
got that much space that you're constantly having to keep at like a certain
yeah,
time. But
it's not worth it, dude. So.
yeah,
But hey, this is a podcast. We get together, talk about movies and comic books and all that kind of stuff whenever we
yeah,
feel like it. And this is January.
it
We're in the
is
middle of almost wrapping up our review series on Lethal Weapon.
pretty close, dude.
And I have to ask you from the get go.
Uh huh.
I'm perfectly okay with this. I want to ask you.
Okay.
Next week is supposed to be our monthly wrap up.
Uh huh.
We technically have one Lethal Weapon left.
Uh huh.
I always skip 4 when I do my watch throughs. I don't know
Okay.
what do you want to do?
I mean, if you think that it's a skippable movie, then I feel no pressure to watch it.
Hmm.
So I'm fine with skipping it and just doing like a wrap up
I
for.
always skip it because it's not a bad movie, but it's the worst of the bunch.
Mm.
It's the worst of the bunch for sure.
I mean, honestly, you get to the end of like this movie and it feels like this was the perfect encapsulation for the series.
100%.
So the fact that there's
It's
even another one after
it's
this feels like wrong.
it's Die Hard 3. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
this is where we end it. This is the end.
Yeah.
This feels perfectly fine to end it here. We can go
Hmm.
off into the sunset and leave it there. Whereas like Lethal Weapon 4, Die Hard 4, it's like, okay, we're just Rambo 4.
I mean, you're milking it at that point.
Yeah, Rambo 4. Okay, we're just using the name for some
Yeah.
cash money. I haven't even seen Rambo 4 or Rambo 5.
I mean, was Rambo 4 the one that was just called Rambo?
I think that was called like I think Rambo was the last is 5, right?
5? That was the one that was like the first one of like modern
No,
Rambo.
I think that was what was the one that just came out a couple years ago?
That was Last Blood, I thought, or wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Rambo was like from like the 2008 or something.
Yeah, it was like the mid 2000s. Yeah,
And then the one that just came out was Last Blood.
yeah.
Fucking
So Last
terrible.
Blood was 5. Okay.
Fucking terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't even seen those. Fucking terrible idea.
yeah.
Terrible. And then Die Hard was what? Die Hard with a Vengeance is 3.
It was Die
Live
Hard
Free,
with
Die
Vengeance
Hard.
3. Live Free, Die Hard was 4, and then I can't remember what the Russian one was called.
That wasn't Live Free, Die Hard.
No, Live Free or Die Hard was. I think that was the Justin Long one.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
I don't know. Hold on. Now I gotta look it up. Die Hard
Yeah,
series.
pull it up because I have no. I'm never gonna watch
Let's
them,
see.
so I don't care. But
Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Yeah, A Good Day to Die Hard.
Good Day to Die
That's the
Hard.
one with Russia. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, trash movies.
Yeah,
Never gonna
terrible.
watch them. Thankfully, Lethal Weapon's easy enough. They just and the thing is, like, Lethal Weapon 5 comes out, and of course I'm gonna watch it. Of course I'm
Mm.
going to,
Yeah.
but I'm not like dying for it. But then it's like Mad Max did it. George Miller did the perfect thing. George Miller, right?
Yeah, George Miller. Yeah,
He did it perfect with Mad Max. Well, we're gonna bang out 3 of them over the course of however many years.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Done. Come back years later, and not even have it be about Max, and cast a new
It's some new
Max.
chick.
And cast a
It's
new
not about
Max.
Max.
And then we're gonna do another movie with Furiosa, like a prequel or a sequel or something. I don't
I
fucking
think it's
care.
supposed to be a prequel, isn't it?
I
I don't
don't
know.
remember. I don't
I don't think
care
he's
enough.
even started working on it because he's still in like court for Fury Road stuff, isn't he?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Thought he was.
The biggest news I found, we don't really do news in this podcast anymore, but the biggest thing I saw this past week, I don't know if you saw it, Zach, was that it's been officially announced. I mean, it was announced a while back, but it's like
Hmm.
official, like kind of reposting or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That there's going to be a sequel to Heat, and it's going to be a novel. Michael Mann's writing a novel, and
Oh, it's not even a movie; it's a book.
it's a book, and it's a prequel and a sequel to Heat One. And I'm like,
How does that even work?
I would
Prequel
rather.
and a sequel?
I think it's going to take place like part of it's going to be before the events of the movie, then part of it's going to be taking place after the events of the movie.
So we just skip over the events of the movie.
Yeah, we know when the movie's there, we watch the movie. But
You just get
I
halfway through the
honestly,
book and it has a page that says "Go watch the movie" and then
yeah,
finish.
here's the events of Heat 1990 or whatever. I would rather more people do this.
Hmm.
Like like don't give me a sequel if the movie like if the like Speed if they made like Speed 2, right? For
Mm-hmm.
example. I've never seen Speed 2. I'm
Speed
never
Two's with the boat, right?
Yeah, I'm never gonna
Yeah.
watch Speed 2. I don't care you got back Sandra Bullock. I don't give a fuck. There's no Keanu. So I don't give a shit. So if
Mm.
you want to make a Speed 3 but have like him have that character be in it, have Keanu's character be in it, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Make it a book.
Yeah.
I would read the shit out of it all day. You know? Um the other one thing I wanted to mention real fast before we get to Lethal Weapon 3
Mm-hmm.
is that Godfather 4K is coming out next month.
Okay.
They're making a 4K set.
Is it just Godfather, or is it all three
It's the
Godfathers?
set. It's the trilogy,
Okay.
and they're also including the original, no Coppola cut of
Mm.
Godfather 3 that they put out a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, where he was like, "Yeah, I had all these changes I wanted to make, and the studio made me change
Yeah,
it."
which I don't believe for a fucking second. I think he realized that people fucking thought 3 was trash, and then he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I Snyder cut of
I Snyder
the
cutted it.
the
I
Snyder
actually have
cut."
good shit.
Years ago, I had this intention. The studio said this. Blah 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 blah. I think the movie just fucking sucks, and he just wanted to change it. But
Yeah.
the set's gonna have a 4K set of, including that and the original cut. But
Hmm.
also they're releasing Godfather in theaters again
Ooh.
next month, and I was thinking like, do I want to see it in theaters?
I kind of want to watch it in theaters.
I kind of would want to, but there's something about being able to go take a shit.
Yeah, I think especially for a movie like that that's like 3 hours long, there's something about being able to like pause it and go to the
Well,
bathroom.
I think like every Marvel movie is almost 3 hours long now, but the difference is the fucking pacing.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, Godfather is inherently
It's
just
so
a slower
slow.
movie. Yeah.
Like the fucking wedding is like 45 minutes or some
Yeah,
shit.
it's like the first like 30 minutes of the fucking
It's
movie. Yeah.
fucking long, you know. And I love the movie obviously, but it's like, dude, like it's just like a lot of scenes of like people just like bum 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 bum, and you're like, fuck it, dude. What are we doing? What are we doing, dude?
When's the horse head show up?
We're building tension. We're building the world, I guess. I was watching it again. I think last year, just the
Hmm.
first one, and I was watching. I think HBO Max had it or something. So I was just like, okay, I'll turn it on. And I was watching, and I was like, oh man, this movie is fantastic. It's so good. And I was like, man, it's also really fucking slow. And I think that's because I think it's an effect of Marvel movies.
Yeah, I would say so. They've really done something about. I don't know exactly how to
Giving
explain
audiences like
it.
ADD for
Yeah,
like
I mean those
slow
movies, yeah, in
burns.
particular, like that brand of movie has really fed into like the ADHD culture that we have as like
Instant
constantly.
gratification,
Yeah.
you pay off right away. Like there's no character build up. So
Mm.
I don't necessarily agree with Martin Scorsese when he talked about how these are
Marvel
just
movies are roller
yeah,
coasters.
just theme parks or the roller coasters. I don't really necessarily agree with that, but I also do agree with that because they completely are.
Yeah.
But also like I love popcorn movies, so to act like I feel like
What was it? When was it? It was like Denis Villeneuve said something about Marvel movies too in the lead up to Dune, where he said that they were like not cinema or something like that.
I can't remember something like that, but I saw an
He said some
interview.
shit like that, or it was like similar to like what Martin Scorsese said, where he
Yeah,
basically said that they like weren't real movies.
I saw an interview with Brad Pitt with Ben Affleck recently. I think he was talking to Matt Damon or
Hmm.
for like Entertainment Tonight or something like that, where he was like, "Yeah, I couldn't make Argo now.
Yeah,
You
probably
know,
not.
I couldn't make Argo." And I'm like, "Yeah, you couldn't. Now was like 10 years ago. You couldn't make
Yeah,
Argo. You can't make Argo now. Like if you released Heat 2 now, no one would give a fuck.
yeah.
You know, I mean, it would
Well,
do
people would
okay.
care, but it wouldn't make money like it did back in the
No,
day.
it would be like an A24 movie or some shit.
Yeah.
You know, which I'm like Lethal Weapon
Those are the
5.
kind of labels you're gonna have to have those movies under now. You have to have it under like a Blumhouse or an A24 or I don't
Well,
know
you
what
know,
the is,
Lethal
but
Weapon 5 is a HBO Max movie
yeah.
with no theater release.
Yeah. It feels like that's like where a lot of those movies that like we're talking about are coming out now. Like they're coming out through like Amazon or Netflix or HBO Max or like they're becoming like streaming only movies where like they don't really have to worry about the box office necessarily. So you don't have to be concerned that much with whether or not it makes money or not because they just get their money from other means. So
Yeah, I mean, it shows you that the movie theater experience is fucking dead and buried.
it's dead except for blockbusters because Spider-Man still made a fucking shit ton of money.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
So
yeah. And like,
it's really only for those big like event movies really anymore as far as like what really works in theaters now. It's like Marvel movies, Star Wars, any sort of like big pop culture-ish movie like that.
it makes you wonder, like, what's the point of having like that many screens? Just have that many screens all play Spider Man.
Yeah, I mean that was like what was it? It was like in the lead up to The Force Awakens, wasn't it? Where Disney was like, you have to have half your theaters
Yeah.
playing Star Wars, and it's
I
like,
I worked Force Awakens premiere night,
mm-hmm.
and I went actually. I think I told you this. I can't remember, but like
I think you
we were going live at the Cinnabar, the local Cinnabar,
did. Mm-hmm.
and just interviewing a bunch of fucking nerds, like on live, like live shots, like interviewing them, like.
Yeah.
And my reporter doesn't know shit about Star Wars, so he was like asking me for write ups,
Questions?
like just
Yeah.
like what to do. And he's like, people were walking up dressed up and all this kind of shit, right? So we're talking to people online, and he goes, Jason, I have a good idea. You're funny. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna bring you out on the 5 o'clock hit. I was like, what, dude? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna bring you. You're gonna walk out from the camera, and I'm gonna interview you for a little bit. And I was like, dude, I have to work the camera. He goes, just set it to a medium shot, and
A
we'll just
medium
work
two
it.
shot and go for
So
it.
literally in the middle of the shot, he pulls me out, and I'm like on the screen, like answering questions, being like, he's like, so Jason, no, you're my photog, you're my photographer. Are you gonna watch Star Wars? He goes, I'm absolutely, 100%,
Absolutely.
five
100%.
times. He goes 5 times. I go, yep. Once by myself, with my dad, by myself again, with my friends, and then probably one more time by myself, and like all this kind of shit. And then I walk back behind the camera. Yeah, but I remember thinking like, this movie is gonna change my life.
Yeah.
And then one of my directors, he was a new director. He was
Mhm.
basically just a fucking a PA or whatever,
Oh yeah.
floor guy. And he was like a big fan. And we're talking about on the lead up being like, hey, dude, here's what we're gonna expect, dude. Ray's gonna be a fucking Kenobi, bro.
Yeah.
Ray's gonna be a Skywalker, all this shit. And I remember we both came into work the weekend after it came out, and we saw each other. Because we both worked the weekend, and we were
Mhm.
like, oh man, that
that Force
that
Awakens.
Force Awakens, man, huh? And he was like, yeah, dude. I was like, did you like it? And he was like, I thought there was some cool stuff. And I remember thinking like, Star Wars is dead. Star Wars is fucking dead and buried.
Mm.
Flash forward to our podcast about Last Jedi.
I was about to
Fucking
say, and then the Last Jedi fucking sealed the deal.
dead and
If it
buried.
wasn't dead with the Force Awakens, it was dead with the Last Jedi.
I mean, it
So
was definitely shot in the face in
yeah,
Force Awakens, and then people now are like, "Oh, the Mandalorian, it's Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett, it's
yeah.
saving Star." I don't fucking care, dude. Star Wars is dead.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really had any interest to. I don't know. This is just me in general because I know you're still big into the Marvel stuff, but like, I haven't really had an itch to like watch a Marvel movie or like anything that Disney's put out in like a really long time. Like since Endgame, probably is like the last time I was like itching to watch something from
Yeah,
like Disney. Like, I mean, I watched what was it, the second Spider-Man, and I didn't like that one, so I think that kind of also drained my excitement a little bit for Far From Home because I still haven't watched that yet,
yeah.
but. I think the last one that I really watched was like Shang-Chi, and even that was like I was like that was good, but like I don't know, it wasn't like
Yeah.
life-changing. I wasn't like a life-changing movie. Like it was a fun movie, but
I
and yeah,
think
I mean like I watched like the first season of The Mandalorian, but like I've had no interest or need to like buy Disney Plus to like watch the second season or to watch the Book of Boba Fett or any of this other shit that they have coming out with. So
I think it's twofold for me. With the primary thing being that it's just something that I can watch with my fiance.
yeah,
Like we're both already so invested into 15, 16 fucking movies and shows that like
yeah,
something else we don't have enough to watch together as it is,
yeah.
but we both enjoyed these enough to watch them
Mm.
together, so it's something to watch together as a
I
family.
think that definitely helps having somebody else to watch it
Yeah,
with.
it's something we're both like. I'm not gonna watch Bachelorette. She's not gonna watch Bloodsport, so we're gonna watch these. But number two is that um, I just inherently like superhero stuff more than I like manga. Like it's just natural. Now, if they were able to do a live action, Naruto and make it like good, I'd be
That'd be
there. I'd
pretty.
be there every fucking night. I'll be there every fucking movie.
That'd be a hard one to do really good.
Yeah, if you can give me a live action tuning
Yeah.
exam, I'm fucking and then make
I
it
mean, I'd
fucking
be down for
good.
that shit 100%, dude.
Yeah, make it
Ooh,
fucking good.
yeah.
I would be like fuck superhero movies, dude. But
Not some Cowboy Bebop shit, but like actually do some like a good
yeah,
adaptation.
absolutely. But I think with the Marvel stuff particular, obviously if DC was good, I would it would be the same thing. But DC's not
Yeah.
good stuff, and since I'm more of a DC fan than anyways than Marvel. But like
Hmm.
since I grew up reading comics, I spent so much of my fucking money on fucking floppies
Yeah.
for years. I have a closet full of fucking recent floppies that I still fucking have that I don't know what to fucking do with, right? So I spent so much god dang money on these stupid characters that
Yeah.
writers just suck at writing. But the stories that do matter to me, those are the ones that they're pulling from. So I
Yeah.
watch these movies and have interest to go, okay, how are they gonna do it? And I ultimately walk out of the theater fucking pissed that they didn't
But
do
they did
it.
do
They
it.
didn't do as good as the fucking comic book did. All you had to do was fucking take the fucking comic book, like Civil War. We went through this 1,000 times. I'll say it real fast before we get to the fucking movie. It was like
Yeah.
Civil War had zero impact to me. Like even when I rewatched the whole Marvel universe to prepare for what Endgame, whatever. Like
Yeah.
that movie to me is so middle of the ground, mid tier, no stakes. I don't care because there's
Yeah.
not enough heroes to make it or villains to make it
Yeah,
matter.
I think it's definitely they pulled the gun too early with the Civil War stuff because yeah, I definitely don't think there's enough. You definitely don't have enough superheroes to make it actually feel like there's an actual like rift
There's no stakes.
in the universe.
Like the idea, like when Civil War
Like
came
the only
out,
really like visible stakes that you see with it is the Tony
Steve.
Cap stuff. But even then, it's like outside of when they specifically mention it in like Civil War or when they specifically mention it in like Infinity War and Endgame, like it has no other bearing on any of the other movies. Like what's going.
Some of my favorite when Civil War was happening, some of my favorite issues and stories
Mm-hmm.
weren't even in the main hero books.
Yeah,
It was like the random C tier hero who had to like, okay, be like, shit, can I still do this? Like, I'm in a small town. I'm not in New York City. Like, can I still do like those are my some of my favorite stories. Or the
mm-hmm.
villains being like, oh shit, like I have to actually side with this hero now because we are both being hunted by the fucking Fed. Like
Yeah.
those stories were to me interesting. And when you actually go back and read Civil War and see like Punisher like do kill a bunch of people, like kill a bunch of villains,
Yeah.
and he's like fucking. There's that really powerful scene in fucking Civil War where like he like kills a bunch of bad guys and
Hmm.
they bring him back to their little base and he's like talking to Steve and he's like I'm one of you guys and Steve like beats the shit out of Frank like fucking beats the fuck out of him because of course Frank can't he's super powered man and Frank is just a regular guy
Yeah.
but beats the shit out of Frank and Frank's all bloody he doesn't throw a single punch and Steve is like why isn't he fighting back and someone's like because you're his idol
Yeah.
because he grew up wanting to be. He went to Vietnam because of you. Like you're his favorite person. And then he's like, no, he's nothing like me. And it's like that. Even that alone, like minute one scene of the panel
Yeah.
shows even a massive rift between people who agree the same thing. Whereas in the movie, they can't do any of that because there's only fucking 10 fucking heroes.
Yeah.
So I don't fucking. It doesn't matter to me as much.
Yeah, it's like that, or like, so I mean, that's a good example. I mean, what they've tried to do twice now with Dark Phoenix is another great fucking
Yeah.
example. Which is like, I mean, at this point, it's like, just leave the story alone because you clearly can't do it right. You don't know what the fuck you're doing, so like, stop trying to touch it and do it.
Yeah, at least with X Men, like inherently you have a ton of mutants because of the school. So and they do a good job of like going through the school and having like one or two shots of people in class. Like they're telling you from the get go, yeah, there's a lot more than just the X Men. They at least
Yeah.
tell you that, right? But with the Marvel movies, they don't establish that there's other people who are doing the job elsewhere. They kind of say these are the Avengers. It's fucking 10 people. Whereas
Yeah.
we know in the Avengers comic books, it's like there's a fucking 1,000 people who are Avengers.
Yeah.
There's not the rotating staff who works the comic book. You know what I mean,
Mm.
or whatever. So, but that like I don't know anything about Shang-Chi, so I didn't know anything going into it. But I
Yeah.
know a lot about Punisher,
Mm.
and going into watch Punisher, okay, that's all right, they're getting the tone. The tone's right. They're getting the tone right. They're getting the violence right. They're getting Frank. Frank is right finally after after three different movies. Frank
Yeah.
is finally right, or at least quasi right. And
Mm.
then they nix that, and they're gonna bring him back. I'm like, okay, let's keep the same
Yeah.
energy when we go to Disney Plus because I want Frank to fucking he has to be brutal.
We'll see if they do that. I don't know.
I think that they would be smart enough to look at Netflix and see how people felt about Punisher and
Yeah.
be like, okay, we should maintain this level. Like I don't know anything about Moon Knight. Moon Knight was never a character that I read.
I've read a little bit of Moonlight. I mean, he's interesting, and I thought the trailer was interesting,
Yeah, I
but
think the trailer was super cool. I rewatched the trailer a few days ago with my fiance. We were both like, this is like the most interesting trailer since WandaVision. Like
yeah.
it's the most inherent. Plus, you have a good actor in it. It's a really compelling story idea. It's
Hmm.
like supernatural / psychological thriller. I appreciate that, but the character itself, I don't know anything about. Which is like the goal. This is what Marvel wants to happen on a mass scale, which is not happening. And it's clear by comic book sales. Which is
Mm.
like I'm the prime audience for this to happen. This is what they love. For me to sit back, I'm already a comic book reader, but I'm
Mm.
more so on the DC side, so I read all that shit way more, and I'm more inclined to read anything about some bullshit Green Lantern than I am about some bullshit Thunderbolt or Nova Corps.
Yeah.
I'm more inclined to read a Shazam story than a Marvel Man story, where the fuck. I'm more
Mm.
inclined to read, anything from fucking those dudes with fucking lame god characters than I am with the fucking gritty realistic character, whatever. But
Yeah.
the fact that I could sit back in my chair, see a trailer for Moon Knight, a character I know nothing about besides the fact that his name is Mark Spector and he's a mercenary. That's all I know is like the
Yeah.
basics of that particular version of Moon Knight. And
Hmm.
then see the trailer and go, oh, that's interesting. And then want to now read
Yeah.
a run of him. That's the goal. That's what Marvel wants.
Hmm.
But the reality is, these movies make so much fucking money, but yet comic books are still not selling
Still in the toilet,
where
dude.
they were in the 90s. So there's a disconnect between the people that want to read comic books and people that like comic book stuff.
Yeah. I
You
would
know?
say, yeah. I think that their hope of movie and Disney Plus money transferring over to the comic book industry is
Yeah.
Not paid out, and I don't think it ever will paid out
No.
because I don't think that just because somebody likes a movie does not mean that they're going to go and read the source material.
No, what the average fan wants is to, before they go watch fucking Shang-Chi, is to go
Mhm.
on YouTube and watch a video by a person who does read comic books breaking down Shang-Chi's famous arcs and characters
The
and
origins
battles.
of Shang-Chi,
Yeah,
everything
like
you need to know before the movie comes out.
Shang-Chi explained in 15 minutes, and then when they get to the theater and see their friends, they can
And I
go,
love variant comic, but that's like all his fucking videos.
yeah,
Is
that's
like, this movie's coming out, I'm gonna break
you
down
know,
everything about the history of this
Marvel
character.
explained, comics explained, Benny, the whatever the fuck comic store, all those fucking guys.
Yeah.
And then that person can watch the you know uh fucking Thanos explained in 20 minutes, and then they can go to the theater and stay in line with their friends and be like, well guys, you know that Thanos was originally from Titan and he's actually a deviant, blah 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 blah, blah. He's actually an internal, or whatever the fuck, his brother is Harry Styles. That's what they want to do.
Yeah.
That's what happens, right? Because people want up their friends
Mm-hmm.
versus being like what Marvel wants you to do, which is like, oh, what, who, Thanos? Oh, I'll go home and I'm gonna download
I gotta
Marvel.
read all the
I'm
runs that
gonna
Thanos is
download
in.
Marvel Unlimited. I'm gonna go read the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. Like, no, fucking
Yeah.
translates to $15 of sales.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck watched? I would have a better idea that I would say this, that if you watch the Watchmen show,
Mm-hmm.
those people had a better trends. I have no numbers for this. This is just purely guessing based on the type of show
You
that
think it's a
Watchmen
better
is.
shot that those people went and read the
Yes,
Watchmen comic? I would
absolutely.
agree with that.
Because that's what the
Although I
Watchmen
don't know, because I
does.
feel like I actually honestly feel the opposite, which I feel like a lot of people that watch the Watchmen show were people who had already read the comic and
Oh,
like
I agree
were
with that
like,
too.
hell yeah. I'm sure that
I agree with
I'm
that
sure
too.
that yeah, if you hadn't read the comic and you watch a show, I bet that you went and read the comic.
Like, I
Yeah,
feel like if you never read Hellboy but you watched Hellboy, like the first two movies, you're like, huh, this hits on a lot of shit that I like.
mm-hmm.
Let me go check out this comic book. I think there's more translation rate from movie to comic book with like Watchmen and Hellboy and
Mm-hmm.
more genre stuff than just the
Yeah.
generic like, here's Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what the fuck do I read? Devil in a bottle, what the fuck, demon in a bottle storyline, like all that kind of
Yeah.
shit. Versus like, I'm gonna read Hellboy, I'm gonna read Watchmen, I'm gonna read any of those kind of like The Spirit or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easier with titles like that for sure, where there's like a segmented beginning and end. So it's not as hard to figure out what you need to read. It's just like you need to read. Like, I mean, The Watchmen's a perfect example. It's like
Read this
I
one
want to
book.
read The Watchmen. All right, well, you just buy the Watchmen book, and like
But
that's
but
the whole
but but
story.
but 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 Zach, do I need to read before Watchmen? No, you don't.
No,
No,
because
you
it's
don't.
before Watchmen. You don't
No,
need
you
to read
don't.
it.
You don't need to read
Just
that.
read The Watchmen.
Would you read the book that the author didn't approve? No.
Yeah.
No.
You want to read the thing that's not written by the guy who actually wrote the story? No,
Yeah.
you
Why
don't
would you
do
do that? Why would you read that? So
Yeah.
that's a ramble. But we're here to talk about Lethal Weapon 3.
We are the 1992 film starring Mel Gibson and
Danny Glover
Danny Glover. I don't know why I couldn't remember his name.
and Rene Russo, who I'm
Is that
pretty
who
sure.
she is?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure a couple weeks ago I was like, oh, Kirstie Alley. I was like, that's not Kirstie Alley. I don't know why she. I don't know why she was in my mind. I don't know why I was like, this is
Hmm.
clearly Rene Russo, but I was like, oh, okay. Why did I say Kirstie Alley? But maybe I was thinking about Cheers. Maybe that's why.
Awesome.
Because I just thought about Cheers. But either way, Lethal Weapon 3. Um, we're officially at the point in the film series where it's time to wrap it up. It's the
It felt like
natural
that with
point.
this movie. It definitely felt like the screenwriting for this movie was like, all right, it's time to wrap shit up. Which I
And
mean, it's like the whole arc of the story is like Murtaugh's retiring, and like
yeah.
that's like the beginning of like the entire story. Is like ticking clock. Murtaugh's got like 7 days till he's fucking out the door, and he never sees Riggs ever. Well, at least that's what Riggs thinks. He'll never
Yeah.
see Riggs again.
And and with the gap between this movie and number 4, which is like a fucking, I think it's like a 6-year gap.
Is it? Wow.
It's like 98 is when 4 came out.
Okay.
It's very clear like they're like, let's make some money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because 6 years means that you don't have a story in mind.
Yeah.
Like from 87 to 92, that's a reasonable amount of time to make 3 movies.
Mhm.
But for a 6-year gap, that does not mean that you. To me, that means you don't have a story. You have to either you like, oh, I got an idea, which is so. I don't believe that. Like Matrix 4,
Yeah.
I don't believe all of a sudden Lana Wachowski was like sitting at her house being like,
I have this great idea.
I had this great idea for Neo. It's like, no, you
I have
gotta.
this great idea where I'm going to shit on everything about me having to make this movie.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
But at least with Lethal Weapon 3, just like Die Hard 3,
Mm-hmm.
it's a natural feel for a third film that also could naturally be the conclusion to a franchise.
Yeah.
And like you said, the story is basically that like every Lethal Weapon starts out with a good business,
Mm-hmm.
especially like compared to 2. They know start out with some fucking put you right in the middle of some fucking bullshit.
I
You know?
mean, that's the most. I mean, I think the thing that was most surprising to me is that you basically start off the movie and you get two pretty big set pieces right off the bat, which is you get the bomb explosion, which is like, that's just like Riggs and Murtaugh being Riggs and Murtaugh at that point. Also, it's clear that like Riggs is pushing him because he doesn't want him to leave.
Yeah, exactly. The whole time, like you're from the get go, you're like, okay, this dude, like, there's something going on, and you don't know what it
Yeah.
is yet. You're like, you know what? Like, oh, okay,
Okay.
he's retiring again. Gotcha.
He'd
Okay.
rather kill Murtaugh than let him leave the Force.
Yeah, yeah. Or he's
Yeah.
like trying to get him, like, or maybe like in Riggs's like twisted way,
Yeah.
like, hey, maybe he'll get excited because like this is what makes me excited.
I think that's definitely part of it too, where he's like, he's trying to like give him the juice again to like
Yeah.
want to be a cop again.
Hey, you're young. You can still do this job. You know, we can
You're
still
only
do
50
this.
years old. You can still do this.
Yeah. Even though I feel like he was 50 in the first movie,
I
like
think he was.
I can't remember
He
what
might
his
be
birthday
closer to
was.
60 in this movie.
I think
yeah.
he's closer to 60. I think because just based on the character age, he's definitely supposed to be kind of more towards that that age.
Yeah.
But I love the opening scene because it's exactly what you said. It's like the pinnacle of what these two characters are like. We've had 2 movies to like kind of build on this like rambling, like antagonistic, like fun dynamic, the buddy cop syndrome, and like it just perfectly encapsulates exactly what that is. Like just movie begins with the fucking fire line, and
I
then
mean that opening credits is weird because it feels like a James Bond opening.
It does.
And it's very strange.
it does.
I'm like, this is not Lethal Weapon from what I've watched at this point. It is not like a James Bond action thriller. It's a buddy cop movie. So the fact that they're like super dramatic with like the flames everywhere and
which makes me think like this was the end.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
it
Like
feels
that opening was like kind of like this is the end of a series. Like the fucking versus like the regular one, like the Lethal Weapon,
Yeah.
right? So you start out with that sweet bomb, which to me is like it's not as good as the car chase.
No, but they
But
make
it's
up
fun.
for it a little bit
But it's
with
funny.
the next set piece. So
Yeah, yeah.
I
So-
really didn't mind that the car chase when they're. So I mean, and the setup with that is that they directly disobey orders and get
Love
busted
it.
down to be cops.
Love it. It's like, hey,
Fucking
yeah,
Murtaugh's like, I got 7 days
I got
left.
7
I'm
days
fucking beat
left,
cop.
dude. I
Then
don't
he's
give
got
a
to wear a
shit.
girdle because his uniform isn't as tight or is
he's
as
too
loose
he's too
as
big.
loose.
Yeah, I
Throwing
love
too much weight as a detective.
all of that because what they do is they do the perfect. Yeah, I said like in the first movie, it's like they stumble into a plot,
Yeah.
and I fucking love it. They just stumble into a large plot line,
Yeah.
right?
They just happened to be in the vicinity when a robbery was going down,
yeah,
and that starts off the whole movie.
they just have bad luck.
Yeah.
Like the beginning sequence of the movie is actually not even relevant.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more like, hey, there's a
It
bomb.
more just sets up the fact that they're going to be beat cops,
Exactly.
and that sets off the rest of the plot.
Yeah,
Because they have to get demoted down so that they're in the situation where they could interrupt this.
and
Right.
and there can be the tension between Riggs and Murtaugh and
Yeah.
the IA detective. But it's like, okay, we bust you down to uniform. You're back on patrol. You're on foot patrol, which is like, dang, you're old and you're on foot patrol. Like, that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
You know, you see the robbery going down, and then my favorite part is that Riggs is like, you know what? I'm not even gonna fucking cut my hair. I'm just
I'm
gonna
gonna wear
put
a
a ponytail. Which ties back later to when he gets back there. He gets back to the detective shields, and the captain's like, "Hey, Riggs, cut your hair." And he's like,
Definitely not going to do that.
You know, I'm not going to do that. You know, like So it's like even that is just so funny. How did you like that opening sequence though, like back to back? Because it's pretty like quick. It's a bomb sequence,
It's pretty
boom,
back to
boom,
back because
boom.
yeah, I mean the bomb ends, it explodes. You've got them in their faces on with all the bomb squad shows up.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then you immediately go into the B cop. I kind of liked it. It kept the energy going pretty well of like just jumping from thing to thing. There wasn't a lot of like downtime. Or hold on, was the house stuff in between that, or is that after the car chase?
That is after, I
I think it
believe.
might be after.
I think so too.
Which is the house stuff, and I like the car chase a lot, and I like the fact that I don't know if it was a little too over the top, but the fact that fucking Murtaugh gets stuck in the car with like the overly
With the lady.
sexual black woman, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, Murtaugh, I'm gonna show you a good time. I was like, okay, all right.
And then finally, the chase stops and
Yeah.
Riggs is like, "I saw you kiss that woman." He's like, "I didn't
She
kiss
kissed
her.
me,
She
I didn't
kissed
kiss
me.
her.
Yeah, she kissed me." Which
Uh,
plays back later at the end towards the end of the movie when they're in
yeah,
the
when she shows
office
back
and she
up,
shows
yeah.
back up. But I think it's a classic trope that like that a lot of these movies and shows do, which is like we're gonna take the renegade detectives and the maverick detectives and go, hey, listen, if you keep doing, I'm gonna have your shield for this, right? And then they never ever see it happen. But this
And then
movie's
this
like, no,
one is
no, no,
like,
no, no,
we
no.
actually see it happen.
We're
Like
gonna
they
see it
actually
happen, then
get
we're
their
gonna be like,
shields
we're
taken.
gonna work back, we're gonna work your way back up, and then so
Yeah.
when you get to the idea of them being detectives for so long, being like, no, we're gonna fucking there's some shit going on.
Yeah.
We're gonna find out. This is our bust. And like they're just pushing the
Well, it's
captain.
definitely more like Riggs than Murtaugh with that aspect, and that's the
Yeah,
thing that
yeah,
comes back later into the movie too, where he just always jumps headfirst into stuff, which happens
yeah,
later when his daughter's on the movie set and he interrupts it,
yeah, yeah,
then beats the shit out of her boss.
yeah. I love that scene too.
Yeah, that seems funny
I
too.
love that scene. Um,
But
but
after the car chase starts, I think the thing that I liked about this movie the least, which is that Joe Pesci comes back,
I know.
and
Yep.
he's way more annoying in this movie than he was in
In
two.
two.
I think
Yep.
he's one of the two things that I disliked about this movie
Yeah.
is like his insistence of having to be back again. But there's no real purpose for him to be back until they're like, oh yeah, I know that guy because I got connections. And I was like, okay, that's kind of ham-fisted. That like he just happened to know this fucking dirty cop who's like the new crime boss in this area.
Yeah,
Uh,
I completely agree. That's one of the things where I kind of felt like Riggs and Murtaugh are detectives. They could put two. You could write another way for them to find out this guy is at a hockey game
yeah,
than just that.
yeah.
And then they try to give us some levity by having Riggs by having what's his fucking name? I can't remember his name. Joe Pesci's character.
Oh, Leo Getz.
Leo. You can't by having Leo get shot in the arm and they're like there's the funny scene with the doctor where he's like it's a dumb dumb
The
shot.
doctor scene was pretty funny where they're giving him like yeah like
It's a dumb dumb shot. You know, I know a
yeah
cop
dumb
who
dumb shot
got
and
a dumb dumb shot, got his thumb cut shot
prostate
off.
exam and like all this other shit they're writing on his form so that he
Well,
can be
just
stuck in the hospital.
even that, like it goes back to great face acting, which I keep talking about, like facial acting, where like it cuts this that medium shot on Riggs and Murtaugh, and he's like, and Murtaugh's like, no, I don't want him here, and he's like, well, it's a dumb dumb shot. You know, I know a cop who got his thumb shot off, and he died 2 days later because of the stress.
Yeah,
And Murtaugh's like, yeah,
yeah, definitely. I definitely know what that is.
The doctor's like, okay, well, I'll hold you overnight, and he's like, 2 nights.
Too nice.
And like that to me, like that goes back to the two actors having really great chemistry alone, and then having really great like micro expressions when they're acting. But like you don't need to have Leo there. It really ruins the chemistry between. You can just have it be Riggs, Murtaugh, and Rene Russo's character, and kind of keep it at that, and that
Yeah.
feels fine. But having Leo just be like a transitionary way for them to get to point B to point C, you don't need that. You can just have them play detective.
Yeah.
You know, like you can have them be like, I get the LAPD is huge, but you can just be like because their captain recognizes him.
Yeah.
You can be like, yeah.
Well, as soon as they see him, yeah, it's like all of them recognize. Well, they don't. Them
But the
personally.
IA and then the captain does. You can
But
be
yeah,
like,
IA
okay.
and Captain, yeah, like they all know who he is.
And if you can go, there's a scene in number 4 where because I was watching it earlier, where Riggs and Murtaugh, who are captains now, go down to like the Asian gang unit and ask them about an Asian boss to go
Hmm.
get information. Just do that.
Yeah.
And for this movie, like, okay, hey, there's definitely your IA is right here. There's a gang unit. There's a crime unit. We're gonna go talk to them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you guys know that this guy's a former cop, right? Yeah. Where the fuck
Yeah.
do we gotta find him at? Well, he's usually here, here, and here. Because why wouldn't? Like, of course, if the
There's
IA
no way
has
they're
him,
not keeping tabs on him and like seeing where he's going.
yeah,
So
if he's the big crime boss,
especially if they're running an investigation on him, like IEA,
yeah, there's gonna
paranormal
be people
is, like,
following
there's no
him.
way they don't know where he is going.
Yeah,
Most.
it makes no sense. It's just a way to shove Joe Pesci back in for like
Yeah.
unnecessary humor. Because the
Mm.
two guys alone are funny enough. You don't have to
Yeah.
have more humor. That they're them bickering back and forth is funny enough.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't laugh a whole lot of like what Joe Pesci was doing. Yeah, so it's much more about Riggs and Murtaugh and their interaction with each
Yeah.
other.
How did you feel though about the bad guy in particular of this movie? About the whole idea about the no retire or ex renegade cop
I think
turned
it's an
criminal
interesting. I think it's an interesting build up on like what they've done so far. Because I mean, the first movie was
military.
yeah, military stuff, and then the second movie was all about the diplomatic community and like that whole thing about it. And so then yeah, now they're tackling like an ex cop who knows the system and like
Yeah.
trying to get one step ahead of somebody who's already like one step ahead of you.
How'd you feel about the tie-in to like the like the youthful African American crime stuff with
Yeah,
Murtaugh?
I mean, I think that starts to get into the stuff that I dislike about it. Not that I dislike the fact that they like touch on that aspect, but it gets to the part of the movie that I don't like, which is once Murtaugh shoots the kid because the kid's armed with the weapons that the
Yeah.
ex-cops guys stole, and that is another kickoff for the plot. But then Murtaugh like leaves the movie for like 30 or 40 minutes, and Riggs doesn't like do anything to like check on him. Like the psychologist is like, I should go talk to him. He's like, nah, he's fine. Just leave him alone. And then like that's the last we ever hear about like him like even knowing anything about like what Murtaugh's doing. Like he just leaves him alone for like movie speak. He leaves him alone for like the next like 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
And then Riggs goes has sex with the IA person,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden he just shows back up in front of Murtaugh again. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like at this point it's like, especially with what they build up in the beginning of the movie, where it's like he doesn't want Murtaugh to leave, and like he's his ride or die partner, like he's there for him for life. So the fact that he kind of like doesn't do anything to check on him, especially after the fact that like he knows that Murtaugh's emotionally affected by the fact that like he just shot his son's friend,
Yeah.
and like he still knows that like it's a good shoot, but I mean that still is like an emotionally scarring event for somebody.
Yeah.
So the fact that like he doesn't do anything to check on him, and then it all just becomes just like Riggs and the Russo is like, I don't know. It felt not right to me that like all of just sudden he just like checks back up on
Yeah.
him again.
I think
And,
what the screenwriter is probably trying to and is hint at with the context of we've been seeing for the last two movies is that like we don't see Riggs talk to him, but he has.
yeah.
He's constantly at the house doing laundry, drinking beer, eating dinner,
Hmm.
kissing the kids like his uncle. So I think that
Yeah.
what the screenwriter did was the disservice was like not show one more scene of like
At least like a phone call or
like
something like that where he's like checking up on
not
him.
even that, but like but like Riggs is doing laundry and Murtaugh's on the couch like in underwear,
Yeah.
like at home, like on mandatory, whatever, and he's just like, well, I'll keep you updated, and like just something as simple as that, because like just from knowing the screen chemistry and what they have kind of explained throughout the whole, even this movie alone, like like at the end of the movie where Riggs is saying bye to like Murtaugh's daughter, like
Hmm.
clearly like their family.
Yeah.
So as a watcher that he's not just not talking to his friend,
Yeah.
but the screenwriter didn't do enough job, or the director didn't choose to give you that extra scene so that we know as the audience knows.
Hmm.
Because I can put two and two together and assume that happens, but since you don't see that, you don't like isn't feel good for the character not to have that. All you have is Danny Glover talking to his son in the bathroom, and they're
Yeah.
acting as though that's supposed to make Murtaugh feel better.
Hmm.
But really, that does obviously he cares about his son. But you would expect also for Riggs to be like, "Hey, let's just drink a beer, talk about your boat
Yeah.
for a second." You know, I mean,
Yeah, I feel like it's something like that is definitely what was needed. And then also you just have Russo taking like a mini Murtaugh role where it's like I think the point that stood out to me was like when they invade the warehouse or whatever, and they do the 1, 2, 3 gag,
yeah.
and then she like doesn't get it. Like clearly she wouldn't, but like I don't know why he'd even like I
Bring
don't
it
know.
up.
It just felt wrong like doing that like with somebody that's not Murtaugh because that's like
Yeah.
just that's the Murtaugh gag. Like 3, 2, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, go.
I also don't. I really. I don't mind the C plot or whatever of the no Murtaugh's son hanging
Hmm.
around like thugs. I
Yeah.
like that idea. I like the idea of Murtaugh being like, you guys are killing all of us, kind of like talking about like a community aspect. I like that. I just don't know if it fits into this A plot.
Yeah, it feels kind of I don't know. I mean, it's like tangentially there, and I mean they've got like the black guy, crime lord guy, who's like
Yeah.
clearly handing all the guns that is stolen. So I mean, you've kind of got that there, but then they were going through in the end of the movie, they're going through like their interrogation montage of like going to all the different
Yeah.
people trying to find the source, and so then you get to the black guy that like gave them the guns, and then that's it. Like that's the last time, and then it's all about the ex cop
Yeah, it's
at
like we
that
know.
point.
Okay, obviously you got the cop killers, which is a cool scene though. The cop killer
Yeah.
scene earlier is a really cool scene
Hmm.
where and there's a lot of death in this movie.
Oh yeah, that scene in the firing range is like, I mean, that's it. Also like ups the stakes for the whole movie as well, because then you're like, okay,
Yeah,
they could actually fucking die,
yeah,
because now they're dealing with armor piercing
and
bullets.
also it's like all the detectives are there, but yet no Riggs and Murtaugh are in uniform, and there's the
Yeah.
patrol guy, the young patrol guy there, and they're like,
Hmm.
all right, who's wearing it? Who's wearing a vest? And it's obviously just Murtaugh. He's like, lucky
Yeah.
pervert, whatever. No, I put my clothes on, and he's wearing a girdle, and it's like everyone's bagging on him, and when they
Yeah.
pull the vest out, and Riggs puts the round through it, goes through the plate, he goes through all the Kevlar,
Hmm.
and he's like, guys, vests are optional, and it's like
That's
that's
her
a good
option.
line, man. That's a real, and then you see
Yeah.
Murtaugh's face is like, oh, I'm too old for this
Get
shit.
too old
I'm
for
too
this
old for
shit.
this shit, And then it cuts back to like, he says like, to especially to the kids, like, hey, especially to you, and flash forward to one of the big final gunfights,
Yeah.
and that guy gets fucking
That kid
got.
gets shot. Yeah.
That guy gets got. It's almost like you don't gotta check Chekhov's gun all the
Yeah.
time.
Hmm.
Like maybe that guy should have lived because like he
Yeah.
was there at the explanation about the cop killers. Not everyone else was there. He should have been like at the gunfight with other patrol guys who weren't at the
Mm.
fucking seminar, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And he's like,
Yeah.
watch out! No, they're gonna, don't stand there. And then another
Yeah.
cop gets killed. And he's like, fuck! Like that would have been more like make more sense to me than like have the guy who was at the briefing also get shot with the bullet because he knows they're coming.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of like okay, we could have tweaked that a little bit to and then if you want to delete the weapon 4, which they do, now that guy's a fucking detective. Boom. Give me
Yeah.
the fucking script. I will write the fucking movie. Because what we get with the Weapon 4 is we get Chris Black. Chris Rock, excuse me. Chris
Oh,
Rock.
Chris Rock shows up in
Chris
Lethal
Black.
Weapon
Chris
4?
Rock. Um, that's what we get
Well, he
instead.
is black.
He is a black guy. So it's kind of like, yeah, like a couple tweaks here with the C B plot that kind of are like they're trying to thread them to the A plot, which like they're
Yeah.
there, but they're not built enough.
Yeah, I mean, it all kind of ties together in the end, but yeah, I think there's definitely it's not built up as much as the A plot is for sure.
Yeah, and like they're really pushing a lot of the progress of the movie based on the B plots just to tie into the A plot, which is like okay, I get it. That's
Hmm.
kind of how they always do it. It's the crime detective mystery stories. I understand that, but when you get to the
Yeah.
montage of Murtaugh putting the gun in everyone's face, like it doesn't really match. He's mad, so I understand,
Hmm.
but it doesn't really fit the character that much to me.
Yeah, it's more of a Riggs
It's
thing
more
to
of a
do that.
Riggs
So,
thing, and I get that he's pissed off. It's young black guy he had to kill because of this. I understand that completely. And then you cuts to the funeral before that where the kid's parents are like, find the guy who put the gun on my son. I get all that why Murtaugh is pissed. I get that the rage is there, and it's understandable and believable. But he's usually the guy who Riggs would be like, hey, that's me. You
Yeah.
have a family, you should probably calm down a little bit. So it felt like it's believable. It's not like a bad sequence. It just
Hmm.
kind of feels like a little bit to 11 when Murtaugh is probably more at like a 7.
Yeah. I would say that for sure. I definitely felt a little bit out of character for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, that final firefight scene though is fucking
Yeah,
killer.
it's awesome.
I dig that shit.
They
All the
they
shit with
they
them at
do.
the housing development. Yeah.
Yeah, what Lethal Weapon does really well is always like the big set pieces, chases, gunfights.
Hmm.
All they always do them well.
They're all super solid. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't do a bunch of like they're good gunfights for what they are.
Hmm.
They're not like
Yeah.
John Woo, but they're good American action gunfights,
Yeah.
and that alone is like okay, we're okay. These are solid gunfights. So,
Yeah.
um, but Zach, is there anything else you want to mention about Lethal Weapon 3 before we wrap up for the week?
No, I think I really enjoyed it a lot. I know it's hard for me to rank, but I really, really enjoyed three a lot. A lot more than like I even thought I would, because I know we talked earlier about you ranking them. You put three, after one and two, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I probably have to rewatch them again to get a better ranking. But I really liked three a lot. I liked what was going on with it. I liked the plot of it overall.
Yeah.
And I was happy. It was nice to see, and that's the other thing that makes you feel like it would probably be a real finality too, which is that Riggs has a girl that actually doesn't fucking die,
Yeah.
which is nice for him.
Yep.
It's also a girl that like is basically like him as a woman.
Yeah.
So it's somebody who like really fits well with like his
And
personality
she's
and
not
like
gonna like be. She's not gonna be like obsessed because he's crazy. Because he's crazy. Like she's also like, I'm a
she's also a little bit of a wild
yeah. I'm a
card.
cop who
So
chases cops.
yeah,
I have to be crazy to do the job. So I agree. It's a perfect way to.
clearly I'm crazy because I've got my own battle scars to show.
Yeah,
So
and it's a good way to end it. I think in 4 she's pregnant, so it's like they
okay,
propel that further. So maybe in Lethal Weapon 5 he'll have his own kid who'll be a cop, and he's like, oh no.
and then his son will die probably
No, and
because
then
that's how.
Murtaugh's son is a cop and he dies.
Oh God,
And they're
oh
like, we have
God,
to find out who killed my fucking son. And
yeah.
then it's John Wick. And then
And then it's just John.
it's just
Wick.
John Wick with Riggs and Murtaugh. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great movie. I mean, there's definitely things about it that I nitpick because
Yeah.
but for what they are, it's like if it was a different type of movie, I would nitpick harder. But because it's Lethal Weapon, I give it the whatever freedom because it's an action movie and it's action movie level of threading between plots, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So I think it's still a really enjoyable movie, and when I rank them, it's still to me 1, 2, 3 is the order. And literally, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I think every movie from number one, which I absolutely love, because I think it's a perfect movie. Every movie gets a little bit less something, and like I love 1, 2 is it's a little bit down of quality of something. 3 is a little bit down of quality, and then 4 is a huge drop off. But to me, it's the same way with Die Hard. Die Hard 1 is fucking amazing, perfect movie.
Yeah.
Die Hard 2 is just a little bit less. Die Hard 3 is a little bit less, even though if I had to really, really boil it down, I would probably swap 3 and 2, but I like 2 more.
I would definitely.
I like
two.
2 more.
I like three a lot. I still think one's the best Die Hard, but I like Die Hard with a Vengeance a lot.
I like Die Hard 3 is fantastic, but to me, it also deviates from the Die Hard. Like Die Hard 1 and
Yeah,
2 are
it's definitely not as Die Hardy because it's definitely not like I'm trapped in this certain situation and I have to try to figure a way out of it. Yeah, it's all just like I'm in New York City and I have a terrorist.
I'm trapped in a plot.
Yeah,
but I'm not trapped in a location, which is what I like.
Yeah.
What I like about Die Hard 1 and 2. But yeah, like Lethal Weapon 3, it's a good movie. It's a fun time. It's a good installment and a perfectly fine ending to a 3-movie successful franchise. That they decide to uproot for 4. And if you ever do watch 4, you look at them and go, yeah, this. We should have ended it 6 years ago. So when Die Hard 5 comes out or Lethal Weapon 5 comes out, you're like, woof, rough.
You shouldn't have made this one.
Again, Mel Gibson looks fine with the beard, but Danny Glover, he's old, dude. They're both old, but
he's an old man.
Damn. So, well, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with our wrap-up episode to talk about everything that we've been checking out in the month exterior from Lethal Weapon.
Yes.
So hey guys, we'll see ya.
See you guys.